Are you ready now?
Sure.
All right, what's our intro?
Let's get ready.
Okay, give me that intro. Welcome to Faith-Filled Nerds, where two happily married nerds explore Christian symbolism, iconography, and theology within various fandoms.
Our goal is to pit them against the source and see how accurate or inaccurate they are.
I'm John Mark.
I'm Michelle, and we're here to explore Yashiro Nighttow's character, Nicolas D. Wolfwood.
So, what do we got here?
Well, I mean, I have my notes.
Okay, so before we really get started with this, I do want to say that I haven't watched, we rewatched parts of Trigun, and I hadn't seen that in a long time. And there's some things I forgot about that one. Like,
I don't think I ever watched it through perfectly until years later, and even then I didn't remember a lot. But I remembered Wolfwood because he was very attractive.
It's so nostalgic, but there's like especially getting so used to some of modern anime.
Oh yeah, it's so different from
it really is.
Old anime is so weird.
Yeah, and some of the voice acting was some of the English voice dubbing was not great.
No. No. Meryl's employee friend is just like, "Hey Meryl."
Yeah. Oh.
You're everybody's favorite. I don't know, the way she talked was really stupid.
Bad. So we're gonna talk about the priest character in Trigun, Nicolas D. Wolfwood. I think that his story and his arc is very, very interesting. I think it's kind of an interesting redemption arc, personally. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. But let's first look at Wolfwood as a priest. So
do we want to look at Yashiro Nightow?
Oh yeah, because
I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
Nightow.
It's one of the weirdest Japanese last names I've seen. I'm so used to the cliche ones you see.
Yeah.
And this is more unique, so I'm I actually didn't think he was at first Japanese.
Yeah. So what's you get some research on this guy?
Yashiro Nightow. He actually was a social science major and a media studies major, and at the university he went to. He drew as a hobby doujinshi. Is that how you say it? It's basically self-published comics. It's when they... it's the Japanese word for that.
I know what you're talking... I can't remember.
I've always read the word when I read those comics, but I've never, spoke it aloud because I didn't want to, strangle it.
It's actually very, very popular.
It is very popular, but it's self-published. He didn't go through a publishing house.
Yeah.
He quit his full-time job to do manga, which is goals. Submitted and began his... He submitted because of a friend he knew. Trigun to Shonen Captain, which was a publishing company.
Yep.
I think it's I think they're the ones that, you know how you used to be able to go to the store and you could see those big manga books that just had a whole bunch of different ones in there?
If I remember correctly, Shonen Captain is what later became Shonen Jump, where we get
because Shonen Captain went out. It's gone.
Oh, it went out?
It's gone.
Gone. So, okay.
When that went under, he was able to complete his story, and they called it Trigun Maximum. Same story, didn't change anything. It's just because it was under a different publisher, he had to have a different name.
Yeah.
At Yunkeen R's, which is the publishing company he finished it with. His first major one was Trigun, which was later turned into an anime, which is what we're mostly going to be talking about. But he did Trigun Maximum, same thing, different publisher. Gungrave, Overdose, Pink and Ink, Blood Blockade, Battlefront. Which sounds like, when I think Blood Blockade, I just for some reason think of a heart attack. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Blood Blockade, Battlefront, back to back. And S-Flight is what I think he's currently working on.
I think the only one that I'm familiar with out of that list, other than Trigun, obviously, is Gungrave.
I've heard of Gungrave. I haven't watched anything from Gungrave.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff about his faith. I kept finding stuff about his faith, but it was the same thing over and over again. And then I found a couple of things that were retracted. So it's kind of not really what we can say other than one of the original things he came out with was that he had converted to Catholicism but kept some of the Buddha's principles.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, some of the Buddha's principles really go hand in hand, so I can kind of see why. Yeah. We can't confirm those sources anymore because either the links are dead or they were taken down, and Nightow has not confirmed this about his faith in a very long time. Either way, it's obvious that his Christian ideas and the things he learned, if I'm assuming he did do some, if he still is practicing or was practicing.
Or at the very least studied
He did have an impact on him enough to definitely influence Trigun in many ways, not just Wolfwood. Though Wolfwood was obviously his main focus point for it. But, we can't confirm or deny his faith, but that's between him and God, and that's fine. We respect that.
Which is interesting that Wolfwood is, the priest character of Wolfwood is kind of, I wonder how much of it is his faith coming through, or if he's trying to capture some of the tropes of the American Westerns, which most of those tropes were actually developed by the spaghetti Westerns, which were cheaperly made, well, not cheaper to make Westerns filmed in Italy. Yeah. That's why they were called spaghetti Westerns.
It's obvious that something impacted him enough about the Western storytelling that he did a Western manga based in very Western feel stories. Got shootouts, things like that. Very wasteland. I think it's interesting because right now we're kind of in a Western renaissance when it comes to anime right now. But we're in like a high fantasy story Western renaissance.
lot of, I mean...
And superheroes. Like that's what we've really had, a superhero in that. But he did, very early on when his manga and then the anime came out, it's one of the few times you really see him focused on, I don't know how many Western style animes you see.
There's a few. I think there's a few that have actually come out, like quote unquote Wild West ones. A lot of them though are more like post-apocalyptic kind of.
Well, that's what this basically is.
It's sort of a Wild West post-apocalyptic.
Because sure, they're on an alien planet and they travel through the space to get there, but it's kind of post-apocalyptic because Earth's no longer there. Yeah, they don't have any good memories of Earth other than like these cliches and things that are passed down from generation to generation. Yeah. Do we want to talk about manga Wolfwood now or later?
Well, let's get manga Wolfwood because we're not going to really focus on manga Wolfwood because we're not going That's
probably a whole other show if we did it because I don't know. He's only a bit different. They he was really from a plant worshipping cult, not really a priesthood. Yeah. He still was taken as a child, an orphan, trained, all of that.
He actually has he had some sort of serum that makes him heal faster.
Yeah, but it also aged him.
Yeah.
So he might have looked like a 40-year-old man, but he was really in his early 20s.
Yeah, I'd say he looked more like
most of his story remains pretty much the same. Spoilers, we're going to be talking about Wolfwood's whole arc, which is pretty much most of the anime. So if you haven't watched the anime, well, first off, it came out many years ago. Where have you been? But second, this is your spoiler warning.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and spoiler alert.
He also, when he died in the manga, he died drinking with Vash. He had one last drink with Vash, and then he died from an overdose of the regeneration serum. Okay. Which is not how he dies in the anime. Yeah. So.
Which is I kind of like the way he. Well, okay, I don't like that he dies because I love Wolfwood.
Well, Wolfwood's the best. He's hot.
But.
He's
okay.
I don't think they say that anymore.
No.
I think people younger than me say it still.
Oh my goodness, we're so old.
I'm old.
What's happening? All right, so
we're not boomers though.
Oh no, my parents were.
This is how we lose our audience because so many boomers listen to the podcast, right?
Well, you'd be surprised.
Well, probably.
So where are we at? Oh yeah,
we're at episode 9, Wolfwood.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm kind of I was looking at when I was watching this is how well he does his job as a priest. And so, for a lot of people that may be listening that are Catholic, they already know a lot of this stuff. But for those of you who don't know anything about Christianity or, for that matter, Catholicism, most priests, but not all, take 3 main vows. And these will usually vary from different traditions and different, denominations. But they mainly are the vow of poverty, the vow of chastity, and a vow of obedience.
Okay.
So let's look at the vow of poverty with Wolfwood, because this basically is a vow that it's not taken by all priests, because some priests are, because of the diocese that they're in or whatever, they're the congregation, stuff like that, are expected to not have other financial means outside the church and to live very modest, simple lives. And some priests have to have, a second job. So let's look at Wolfwood. I would say that, yes, he is very much following this, because he spends most of the anime living kind of handout to handout.
You can say that, but really his job in the anime is to follow Vash and guide him towards knives. So we don't really know what he's doing, because we know what he's doing. He's doing this so they give the money to the orphanage.
Right.
That was the agreement. He does this. He delivers...
But he's not
Vash to his brother, and he will get what he needs to take care of the orphanage.
But he's not getting money for his own personal enrichment. He's getting money. Well, he was giving that to the one lady.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
to save that one lady's
he's pretty
restaurant.
Impoverished.
I think it's not necessarily that he's impoverished. It's the money that he...
Trying to use a different word.
Yeah, the money that he raises is not for his own
Yep.
benefit.
Every quarter in his little hat confessional...
Oh my goodness, that's...
goes towards... We only see it once.
I know, but it's so
Episode
funny.
1, he puts a little hat confessional. It's a little church.
Episode...
episode 9.
9, when he shows up, yeah. He puts a little hat on as a confessional, which is...
And apparently it takes quarters to activate, though, which I think is funny. Because I guess you can't confess until there's a quarter in it.
I guess. Which, honestly, as a confessional, I'm not Catholic.
Neither of us are Catholics, and we're going to stay as respectful as we can.
We're both Protestant, and I've never been to confessional, but from what I've talked to other people that are Catholic, it seems like sort of the purpose of a confessional booth is to make sure that the conversation between you and the priest is private. I don't feel like the hat...
The hat is very private.
I don't think the hat... In fact,
Between you, God, and the little plastic hat.
I would feel like the hat, it would do the opposite. It'd be like, why does that guy have a chapel on his head?
So this is the... episode 9, Wolfwood is probably the most priest-like. He says the most little biblical quote things. He's like, he's go with God, all this stuff. And he's like it falls off pretty fast, but early on he was very much trying to fill that role of acting like a priest. Mm-hmm. He's like, he introduces himself as a man of the cloth. Yep. And I was like, what does man of the cloth mean? So I looked it up. In the days of royalty and nobility, they had a livery. And it's a type of clothing style that is dedicated to a standing they had. So apparently delivery was short for delivery, because their clothes was brought to them.
Yeah.
And those clothing was a specific duty, job, or title you held. You wore those. Like, the nobles wore purple or blue, right?
Right.
And eventually other jobs started having liveries. They had their own style of cloth.
Right.
I actually described, where the word we get cloth from and stuff, but I didn't bother with that. It's just more just where this comes from. So that you would say someone's of the cloth, which meant they had an important duty or job.
Right.
But by the 17th century, we stopped doing that for other types of professions and just for clerical professions. Okay. So when someone says, man of the cloth, now we know what that means. But back in the 16th century and beyond past, you would have been just anybody that had a dedicated job or outfit or a higher standing. You would say that person
like a uniform.
Cloth. Yeah, it's a uniform. It literally means uniform.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
And one of the things when kind of looking at least Wolfwood as a priest, we have to kind of hand wave because priests go through a lot of training. It's 4 years of college, 2 years of seminary, and a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them do 2 more years of doctoral study, especially if they have any aspirations
when did that start, though? Because they didn't always do that.
They didn't, but more than likely by the...
Priesthood's been around for a very long time.
So we can't judge it necessarily by modern studies because that's what modern stands. And if they have any aspirations to become like an archbishop or a bishop or anything like that,
they don't seem to have any kind of higher.
No,
you just have priests.
It's very much
because it's what they've brought. This is what they remember, or if they had any books with them or anything.
Well, remember chapel. It's really an apprentice.
It's definitely
apprentice master kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, chapel was he apprenticed under chapel.
Wolfwood's goal, we've talked about, his goal is to provide for children.
Yes.
Especially orphan children. He was an orphan child. He does not want any children to suffer. So his goal is to serve those in need, especially widows and orphans.
And I think throughout
everyone else can bugger off, apparently.
Right, yeah. I think throughout his story, that's really the driving force between, like, anytime he's trying to gather wealth, it's also he can provide for these kids.
Yes. Wolfwood is a liar.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a killer.
Yeah, but...
may you go with the protection and love of the Almighty God. It's a blessing he gave Vash.
Which, blessings like that would have been very common for priests to give out.
But yes, he said a lot of things during that chapter. I mean, that chapter. That episode.
Go with
God, my friends. Is one of the.
Yeah.
Some of this is some of the episodes Wolfwood was very observant in, so it was very hard to really dissect him because he was more like, I'm here to say a insightful quote, but we're mostly watching Vash. But since Vash and Wolfwood's relationship was very strenuous, yeah, I would say, like, Wolfwood liked Vash, and I think Vash liked Wolfwood, but they had some very strong disagreements on what constitutes the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was the other one?
So the next one is the vow of celibacy, which most people know,
yes.
Priests can't get married. Wolfwood wasn't married.
No.
I didn't see, there wasn't any overt indications that he was.
Him and Millie were totally a thing, though.
They were.
They were so cute.
I know.
My ship.
But what was interesting about,
so cute.
I believe, which
episode?
Which episode was it that they saved that the caravan? They had to smuggle that one girl out.
Oh, I barely wrote anything because
there's an episode where
Wolfwood was just angry.
There's an episode where they come across this caravan and it turns out that
it's 11. Episode 11.
Episode 11. There we go.
I'm a man of God for God's sake is the quote I wrote down that Wolfwood said, and that's pretty much all I wrote from that episode because that episode was pretty much Wolfwood trying to be the Vash, and Vash was kind of being the Wolfwood.
Yeah. In that episode, you see Millie smuggling this girl under a dress, which, by the way, I'd like to just pause here and point out that Millie is, like, her weapon is a massive, this massive cannon thing, and she's smuggling she's like a smaller girl, but she's full-grown. Full-grown girl under her dress and just like...
Woman!
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, But they, like, the people...
Wolfwood was so impressed with her. It was so cute.
The people that...
Smoking's bad for the baby, honey.
Yeah, that.
So cute.
The people they pass...
Can we just talk about Millie for a bit?
No.
Okay.
The people they pass see Millie and Wolfwood walking together, pretending to be a married couple, and they have no comment about it.
Yeah.
So for all we know, the vow of celibacy is not that big of a thing with this particular...
Also, I do know, I think, at least in some circles... If you are married before you become a priest, you can remain married.
You can, and also, through my research, Eastern traditions of Catholicism don't even require that. So, it's one of those things we could probably hand wave away.
Episode's interesting because Wolfwood spent his whole time going, if you guys leave, so many people will die.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but we'll suffer. And it was just kind of an interesting, he's trying to get these kids, these young adults, who one just found out he wasn't even the true son, the biological son.
Yeah.
And the girl's literally getting sold into the slave trade to give up or try and find another way, which I'm not sure what that would have been, in exchange for helping this caravan, who is continually to help the slave trade.
Well, the other way was to fake their deaths.
Yes.
That's what they ended up doing.
But how is that going to answer the question for how they get into the city still? It doesn't solve anything. Anyway,
No.
Vash was like, I'll just fake their deaths. Problem solved.
But
it's
very much like kind of Wolfwood's character. It's the needs of the many.
Yeah, he was very much the needs of the many.
Like killing if I can save 30 people by killing one person, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And we see that in, I believe, episode 23.
We see it in a lot of episodes.
Yeah. And finally is the vow of obedience. I think we can
come back to that one because that has to do with his whole arc.
It really does, and I think you're right. Yeah, the vow of obedience basically just is a vow that you are going to work for the good of your church and the congregation over your own self-interest. I mean, that's a very broad generalization of a very long section here of my notes. But, so yeah, let's kind of look at the
your
arc.
Notes?
Let's look at, Wolfwood's arc. So we first meet him back in episode 9. He's a traveling priest, and it seems...
His bike has broken down.
Yeah, his bike's broken down.
He always has motorcycles, but they never work.
Yeah, because he doesn't take care of them.
He does. He just gets He buys crappy motorcycles. They talk about it.
Yeah, because he can't afford it. Which I guess kind of goes back into his,
poverty.
His vow of poverty, because he doesn't buy lavish things. He buys what he needs to make it through. And
we skipped Quick Draw completely.
Oh yes, Quick Draw. What'd you have for Quick Draw there?
I have Vash's baby.
Of course, yeah.
I have that in probably every episode.
Pretty much every.
Vash is precious.
Yeah.
Wolfwood has a lot of charity for orphans and widows, but little for anyone else, which I mentioned. Wolfwood drinks a lot of booze.
Which,
I guess is fine.
Yeah.
I guess that's a Protestant thing. I guess that is a Protestant thing.
Yeah, it really is a Protestant thing that we don't like, that we're like...
Wolfwood talks about how he brings orphans to his church, and his church is also an orphanage. So we kind of get more of a glimpse into that. Mm-hmm. Millie is baby now, because she's precious. He said a line about self-protection, and I'm assuming that was that's why I have a gun, because that's when they really discovered how much guns he had on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he didn't have his cross, right? In the episode 9, he didn't.
He didn't. I think this was the first time he deploys.
We've seen it a few times, but that's when we really see it go.
And we really see his talent as a gunman, yeah.
Wolfwood can be very selfless, and he did listen to Vash and tries not to kill people, at least in that episode. Wolfwood summons wine in this episode. It just comes out of nowhere. I don't know where he got it. So I guess that's one of his priestly powers. Yeah. It's just wine summoning. Jesus did it. He can do it, right?
I would like to point out...
They never use Jesus in this at all.
They don't. I would like to point out that some of the physics of... This is definitely one of those media times where they don't understand, what actual trauma the body can take.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a quick draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick draw with live ammunition.
And when he's, he quick draws and everyone's trying to get Vash to kill him, so they fight back, and Vash is like, don't kill them! And he's like, okay! And he's just like...
Yeah, he mows down all these people.
And somehow he didn't kill anybody.
It's I can't believe you injured so many people. No.
That's not how that... So, I mean, if they're all injured, they're all gonna die of infection anyway.
Yeah, because it's...
What he yells during that is, I won't let children suffer. Wolfwood has just this massive heart for kids. We see it over and over and over again. That his compassion towards children is what his main driving point is.
And honestly, does.
I kept my word, said Wolfwood, because he injured a lot of people. Yeah. That's not how bullets work. It's what I wrote. And then in episode 11, I just wrote, it's weird. We already talked about episode 11.
And it is interesting that he has this great heart for for orphans and widows too.
Except from his childhood, though.
It is from his childhood, but it also is a reflection because Jesus talked a lot about the care of widows and orphans.
Yeah.
Paul talked, like, that was like his big soapbox to the church in Corinth is you guys need to start doing what you're supposed to do, which is taking care of these less fortunate people, the widows and the orphans. Fortunate. Stop that.
Souls.
So I think that like this does show that, though I don't know if at this point in the anime
the whole song's gone off in my head.
Necessarily his faith is that strong. The practicing of that faith, taking care of widows and orphans, is pretty solid here.
Yeah. Episode 18 is when Vash has amnesia.
Oh,
and
yes.
Wolfwood basically plays the whole episode as God calling Vash to his purpose and trying to get him out of his situation.
Now, granted...
That's kind of how I saw it.
Granted, spoiler alert, we find out that the whole reason he's doing that is
we were talking about him.
Yeah, he's delivering.
He's been hired by Knives
to deliver
him. But even so, Vash is actively running from his
problems.
Or you could say his calling, which is to stop his brother. His calling is to go and confront Knives and his cruelty.
Take care of Knives.
Yeah, because that's all she ever told him was to take care of Knives, right?
Yeah.
And Wolfwood basically plays conscious this episode.
Conscious, yeah.
He's very bad at it, but he tries. Especially because Vash can't just hide. Knives will keep sending people after him.
Yeah.
And more people will die.
It's true.
And Vash it takes Vash the whole anime to figure this out. But
and you find you do find out like later in the anime that it's not like just town, he's having Legat just empty out whole towns to try to get Vash's attention.
That's kind of that episode, as Vash did find a place he wanted to stay, and he played dumb and had a family and was accepted, but he couldn't stay. And I kind of felt like this was I could have akin this episode to a not as grumpy Jonah. Like, Wolfwood's coming in going, I have a job for you. And Vash was like, I don't wanna.
Yeah, and so he hides.
And he hides and he avoids it. So Wolfwood kind of played God that episode, I guess.
Okay.
Well, a voice of God.
Voice of God, yeah. Sort of a messenger.
Don't get too picky on my wordage. Episode 19.
Yeah.
I forgot to write the names down for these. They're just kind of labeled now at this point. This is the one where Wolfwood literally just watches and listens the whole time with the train and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't do anything. He has some thoughts. We actually hear one of the more thought that comes back later on. But like, first of all, the episode starts with Vash weeping and eating donuts, which is mood. I understand Vash. I would like to weep and eat donuts also. This episode's just all mental comments from Wolfwood, which is while Vash tries to get this guy not to kill the guy that killed his daughter. So it's about a vengeance versus mercy episode.
Yes.
And I definitely believe Wolfwood's on the other guy's side. Like, Wolfwood would have killed the guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Wolfwood is not above killing at all.
I think it's interesting because it's a common thing that a lot of people confuse justice with vengeance. And I think a lot of people that cry out for justice in situations aren't really interested in justice, they want vengeance.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference between justice and vengeance, I think.
Well, I mean, we're starting to really see Wolfwood and Vash come head to head over this. Can you solve these dangerous, deadly problems without killing somebody?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest themes is Vash just thinks he can fix things without death.
Yeah.
And Wolfwood does not believe that. We've talked about it. He definitely believes if you can kill one person to solve everything, you should do it.
Yeah, kill one person to save 500. It's fine.
We are not like God. Not only does our power limit us, but sometimes we are driven to be the devil himself.
It's a very famous line from Wolfwood.
Wolfwood said, yes. He's not the original one that said it.
No, he's not.
But he's quoting something he was taught. We're starting to see Wolfwood's childhood, the way he was raised, starting to really reflect his decision making. Because Wolfwood is all about action.
Yeah.
You gotta make that decision right now.
Do not hesitate.
No hesitation or you are dead.
Yep.
And then there's Vash, who that's all he does is hesitate. Like, eventually when he has an idea of how to fix a problem, he will do it. Like the episode with the two kids that he shot, and they all thought he killed them when he did rubber bullets. He had a plan from the start, so he did not hesitate. And thus he was Vash the Stampede, and Wolfwood was very confused, because that wasn't the Vash he knew.
Yeah. I think
Vash spends most of this anime very lost on how to solve these problems.
I think part of the reason why Vash hesitates is just because he's not human.
Yeah.
He's a creature that is timeless, so...
He's kind of an angel.
Kind of, yeah.
They're kind of angelic. I mean, they're very angelic.
The weapon that his arm turns into is called the angel arm.
That makes sense, because I think that's kind of the ideas there. I think that might have been what the author was going for, but...
Yeah.
So, yeah, but he's that line. That's episode 20, The Flying Ship. This is the episode I think we see that most people just get mowed down.
Just murdered.
Murdered. Flat out just destroyed.
Body count. Huge
the
body
guns
count.
and just murder everybody. Let's see. And, like, Wolfwood is trying to... These people hate Wolfwood. Like, the moment they see him, they hate him.
Yeah,
they're up in the sky on the ship, and they hate him because he's an outsider. And he's calling them out, right? He's like, you guys, you can't just hide up here forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, you have to land and deal with the real world. And they have these horrible misconceptions of the real world, which, well, some of it's accurate. Yes, some of it's accurate, but there are good people down there.
There are, yes.
And they have cut themselves off from help and aid. So when they were getting slaughtered, they only had Vash and Wolfwood, which is not the worst people to have on your team. But a gun-ho gun guys, these guys were pretty unkillable for a long time during this episode. But what's so interesting about this episode is Wolfwood going, I wanted these people to understand that while they were living wasn't sustainable, but I didn't want it to happen instantly. Yeah. He didn't want them to lose everything instantly. He wanted them to prepare.
Prepare to
and so he comes in almost like as a prophet. You know, hey, this is happening. And then it happens really fast. Like, if it didn't happen so fast, you could almost say he was like a prophet. Like, hey, this stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets murdered. Also, Brad is a JoJo reject in this episode.
Oh, because of his hair. Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Still sad when he dies.
No, I didn't. It was sad for Vash. I was sad for Vash, but I didn't. Brad!
Yeah, there's...
That's just some names that when you yell...
You can't yell dramatically. You can't yell Brad. Sorry to any Brads out there, but...
but you can't yell your name dramatically without...
Like, doesn't matter if you die or if he's your...
It's a bro name. Sorry.
It doesn't matter if he's dying or if it's like your nemesis. You can't be like, Brad! You know, it just doesn't have the same...
very loud.
Doesn't have the same of Khan.
He's scarred from head to toe, but he will always be there. Wolfwood about Vash. I like to often say Vash has a lot to do with... he embodies a lot of Christ-like symbolism.
And honestly, we could.
And that's why when I heard that quote, I literally thought, scarred from head to toe.
Right. We might
He's always there though.
We might have to do just this whole thing over again with Vash from the.
Because it's really hard to talk about Wolfwood without
talking about Vash because
they are such a.
It's like duality, but it's
yin and yang. Kind of, because they kind of bleed into each other. Like Vash kind of realizes something's. Like, learn some stuff from Wolfwood, but he doesn't ever give up on his ideas. The one who grows the most is obviously Wolfwood.
Right.
But Vash grows in the fact that he has to finally face knives.
Yeah.
He can't keep running. That's what he learned from Wolfwood, is no more hesitation.
Yeah, he has to deal with his problems, not...
I have episode 21 notes here, but I don't know what was an episode. Oh, it's the episode before. It's the episode where the orphans.
Yeah, that's the one where
This is where they come to a head. This is the episode where Wolfwood and Vash totally disagree. And Wolfwood he's pretty ruthless. Like, they're running around fighting these worm things, and this is gun-ho guns. This is when we really see Logat using his powers to bring people out of the city, really, and building that part up. You know, the flow of old animes is really weird.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like some of these episodes would have been a couple episodes long instead of like...
Yeah, but that's...
we got these gun-ho guns. You're like, oh, I'm a gun-ho gun. Oh, no, I'm dead. Like, hello, I look really cool. Now I'm dead. Anyway, sorry.
That might just be...
how many episodes they had or something?
Yeah, or something. But I do think... I think you're right. This is where we really see Wolfwood's decision-making because... what is it? Zazzy?
Zazzy, what was it?
Zazzy the Beast, I think.
Zazzy the Beast. He's like
he's
a 4 foot tall child. I know he's adult, but he's a man
beast,
voice.
He's a beast master. He has these like a little sonic things.
I'm Zazzy the Beast. His voice
that can control the worms, and I think we really see his decision making in action because he looks at the situation. There is this person who is holding all of these other children and Meryl and Millie.
No, Millie wasn't there yet. Millie was with Wolfwood.
No, that's right. No, they were both there. Because Meryl was holding the child.
She
and
teleported behind them after the scene.
Oh, did she?
Yes. Okay. She wasn't there for the main part.
That just might be an animation.
That was an animation thing.
Animation glitch. But
when she gave him the disappointment look.
You have this one figure is holding these other people's hostage. To save all of these other people, all you need to do is remove this one person from the equation. And for Wolfwood, that's an acceptable solution. You take him out.
Not even though it's acceptable. He's looking at the situation and goes, this is how I solve it. Bam. He doesn't put thought beyond that.
No.
It's because he doesn't hesitate. So you go, this is how it's solved. Don't think about any other answers. He solved the math problem. He found X. It's done.
And to be fair, in a lot of combat scenarios, like for our armed forces, you have to make that kind of decision.
No, he was definitely trained like that.
Because if you don't, people die.
But the thing was, Vash had almost talked him down.
It's true.
I think Vash was going to be able to talk him down.
I think so too.
I really think between him and how Meryl, because Meryl became actually a fine character after she stopped being an annoying brat and was really good this episode. And I was like, where were you? Where have you been? She was able to help call out too. This is definitely not. I'm thinking he was a child, or he was at least a young adult because he had issues. He was definitely relating to these orphans too much.
Yeah.
Which makes sense since I feel like a lot of gun-ho guns probably have a lot of baggage that we'll never get to see.
No, I think the only one we really get to see his baggage unpacked.
Wolfwood?
No, is Legat.
Oh, that's true.
Legat, they have a whole episode about how he got his powers.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, Vash was so mad. Because he was just like, we almost did it. We almost solved these problems without death, other than whatever the worms murdered. The
situation where Vash pretty much had the negotiation under control, and then Wolfwood stepped in.
Yes.
I was definitely a bad on.
It was obviously Wolfwood began to question.
It was.
This is the point where Wolfwood goes, "Am I wrong? And everything I've done, everything I'm trying to do." Am I doing it wrong? Are there answers out there that don't end in a bloodshed? Are there answers out there? And that's when he begins to really, I think, reflect on not just who he is, but he does consider himself a priest. I really think he does. He really considers, and now he's questioning that. Who am I? And
if we're looking at the sort of the order of salvation, this is the point where we would call it recognizing one's sin.
Yeah.
He recognizes that he has that maybe the things that he thought were okay.
I think that starts at the beginning of the next episode, really.
Yeah, but this is sort of the beginning of that.
Yeah, because the final episode for Wolfwood is episode 23.
This one's so good.
Called Paradise, and explores
Wolfwood's
past.
I forgot how good.
The music's so good.
Oh, my goodness.
I almost cried again. I cried the first time I watched this episode. As a child, here I am, a child, on the couch, watching Adult Swim, late into the night, because I'm naughty. And, I'm watching this episode. No, Nicole was with me, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this episode, and we're going, no, nah, he's fine. No, they're gonna fix it. It's fine. No. And wait. And we were so confused by the end because they don't clarify it very well.
Don't.
So the next couple episodes we watched, we kept hoping and then we realized it was real, and it was very sad.
It's not. I would say it's not necessarily as. For me, it wasn't as sad as Hughes's funeral, but man, it was close.
Nothing will get to me, as in Nina and her dog. Yeah. If you all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
remember the Full Metal Alchemist?
Nina,
original series.
The original series, yeah.
It's in the second one too, but it's not as sad. But yes, that is probably the point when I realized anime was an art form.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but this episode's so good because it has so many good, like honestly, we could have just done the entire podcast on this one episode.
Well, we have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So we learned that Chapel, his teacher, the one who took him in after Wolfwood killed his own father, obviously an abusive father, it sounds like.
Yes.
Got his father's gun, did something, shot him. Oh, he said guardian. So we don't even know what that relationship was. It sounded pretty dark. Chapel was the one who said the quote from earlier about we're not gods. We're not like God, and how we could be even the devil himself. We don't have the power. And I just think it's kind of it's an incorrect quote.
Yeah.
Which is really, it shows where the chapel and the Church of the Gun-Ho Guns, because that's where we found out what it was.
Yeah.
Where they believe.
Yeah.
Because we are like God, because we're made in God's image.
Right.
So we definitely, and we do have power.
And it very much shows that their doctrine is very anti-people.
Yes. Which makes sense because Knives is very anti-people. And that makes sense because they were plant worshippers originally in the manga. Right. So I think some of that's there too.
Yeah.
Which I found out they're not actually plants. As in photosynthesis and flowers. No. This is what I get for not watching the anime since I was a child. I heard plant as a child when I watched this anime, and I thought they were plant people that they put into there. No. They're like plants, as in like power plants. Anyway, I was enlightened. We had an argument.
Jeez Louise.
I was wrong. So yeah, we learned about Chapel and where he got his doctrine and stuff. It's definitely from. I think Chapel was, for as little as we saw him, I think he's probably one of the most intimidating Gun-Ho Guns next to Legat.
Yeah, because Legat is just.
But Legat had a lot more.
Yeah,
story.
A lot more screen time.
And I think why I like Chapel so much is because he just oozes that creepy priest vibe, like from a horror movie or something. There's just something so unnatural about him. His
sunglasses are weird.
And then, he has like kind of cyber sunglasses, aren't they?
I don't know.
And then the whole apple thing.
Yeah.
And that was about hesitation, trying to get that apple without hesitating to get it. We see tons of Millie and Wolfwood.
Yes.
Cuteness. And this is where I think they slept together. I don't know.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very heavily implied. It's his old anime, so...
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he broke that one doctrine.
The vow of chastity.
But that's opinion, and I don't want to go too much into this because we want to keep this podcast pretty PG-13. It's hard because anime is violent. A lot of anime is. It's as PG-13 as we can.
Yeah.
We're not going to, cuss or anything, but it's going to be dealing with some dark themes because it's still dealing with religion, and religion has a lot of dark stuff in it.
I think, though, this right here is really... The reason why I love this...
My 3 note lines.
Yeah. The reason I love this episode is because this is sort of the cresting of this redemption arc. Because Wolfwood has realized that maybe his way of doing things isn't the only way, and he might have been doing it wrong.
Yes, and he decides to test it out on Chapel.
Yeah, and he does. He gives his life. He made his choice, and he gives his life for that choice. And it's interesting when he goes into the church and he asks. He's praying to God. He's saying, do you think that you could still forgive me?
Would it be wrong to ask for forgiveness? Yeah. Is exactly what he said.
And I think that's
a powerful line.
So beautiful.
So many people think that. How can I ask for forgiveness for these things?
And I think
is it wrong for me to even try to be redeemed?
And I think that's what's beautiful about grace is grace is this forgiveness that God offers to us through the blood of his Son Jesus Christ. Now,
I wrote Wolfwood seeks God on death's door.
Yeah. Now, Wolfwood
who
still
is he praying to?
Wolfwood still pays consequences for his actions.
Yes, that's definitely what it is. He's definitely paying for, and I think that's really important to see.
Yeah.
And,
just because there is grace does not mean grace doesn't always take away consequences.
It can.
But if you break the law, even though there's grace there from God to forgive you from your sins, there's still a price that you have to pay.
Yeah, to society. Because you've harmed society.
Right.
We live in a society. We have to atone for that and be a part of that.
There are still consequences for Wolfwood's actions, but there's this sense of grace. And I honestly think that the way the lighting and everything is kind of framed is that grace was given to him. And it's the sort of the culmination of that redemption arc.
I think something interesting, though, is as he's, realizing he is going to die,
mm-hmm.
how unaccepting of that. He has realized what he has done wrong, and he wants to right it.
Right.
He wants to right his wrongs. He doesn't want just to be forgiven. He wants a second chance. And he's not given that. He dies. He dies going, no, I don't want to die.
But I also feel like that's that him, like the mentality behind him not wanting to die is part of his
I wish you guys could see my
repentance.
husband's hands.
They're all over the place.
He's all over.
It's part of that redemption because he wants to go. He wants to turn around. He wants to show, not just say that he's changed, but he wants to show that he's changed.
Yeah, he does, and it's hard to watch, I think, because you want to see that in him. He's voiced very well. I should have looked up the English voice actor for a anime in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like
dubbed in the 90s at least. And early 2000s,
something like
maybe. I think early 2000s. Definitely. No, I watched it. Yeah, early 2000s. Early 2000s.
Yeah, it's somewhere
the actor who did Wolfwood's lines, especially at the end, did a very good job. It's heartbreaking to watch this character realize that he could do what Vash does, and then it costs him, and then he has to pay those consequences. I do, I think, I agree. I think he is redeemed. I think he is forgiven, at least, because he sought forgiveness, and that's given. But he still had to pay the toll. And, I mean, there's a lot left unanswered.
Yeah.
Those kids never got that money, and he never came back.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened. I'm assuming Vash did something afterwards.
I'm sure.
But we don't know. And then there's Millie, who waited for him, and he didn't come back.
He couldn't come back.
back. And then her crying at the end, and it's kind of assumed that they found him.
Yeah, because they have his cross.
Yeah.
And actually, Vash takes the cross with him when his final showdown with knives.
My babies! Sorry. I love Vash. I love Wolfwood. I love Millie, and Meryl's there. Sorry.
I don't
have to have an ending unconditional love for anime characters.
Yeah. So I think that as far as, like, Wolfwood, I don't think necessarily was a good priest. But as a person, as somebody who I think sought after the needs of others above his own. Because again, even in his killings, like, I'm not justifying those in any way, shape, or form. He wasn't killing people to
for fun?
for himself, for fun, or for his own goals. He was killing people
for his own goals.
Well, his
goal was to keep Vash alive.
That too, yes. So I don't know.
Until he wasn't supposed to. But I think he broke the vow of obedience.
I think
at least to that church. Not necessarily to God.
Yes.
But
I think to that.
I also do believe that he did break several of the 10 Commandments.
Absolutely.
I don't think he was a very good priest at all.
No.
But he was a redeemable character.
I think
that's important too. Like, he didn't get redeemed, and we're like, well, he didn't deserve it. Right. We definitely. I mean, people don't. I get it, But watch the thought process of Wolfwood. It's probably why I think he's him and Vash are probably the most interesting characters in the whole show.
Yes. I would agree
I actually
with
think Wolfwood's a little more interesting, but that might be because I think he's also the most attractive. But
he's also his thought process is a little bit more
tragic.
human.
He's so tragic.
A little bit more human than Vash.
Oh, Vash is super tragic too, though. Yeah. Everybody's tragic.
Yeah.
Except for Millie and Meryl, who are they're us. We're supposed to represent. They're supposed to represent us right along with the story. I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're that character.
It's very much the Oliver Twist character kind of
I want to be Millie. You can be Meryl.
Oh, thanks. So, do you have any other final thoughts before we...
You guys should go back and rewatch the show.
Absolutely.
It's still definitely a very good anime.
Oh.
It might be better subbed. I don't know. Never watched it subbed, but probably is better voice acting wise. And I don't know what they cut out of the... because this was old school anime, which means that they cut stuff all the time.
Well, the version that I have was not cut.
Okay, good. And, there's the cute trope if you see the cat in every episode.
Oh, yeah, the freaking...
the little black cat, so cute. You see a lot of the old anime tropes, and you see
a lot of the old anime techniques.
Yeah, the shortcuts they took, all of that. But it's also just...
It's so good.
An early exploration of faith and redemption and forgiveness, and when do you allow people to walk over you, like Vash did forever.
Yeah.
When is it time to stand? When is it time to stand? Like, your Christians are supposed to be forgiving and understanding, right?
You're supposed to turn the other cheek. Which even that phrase, and I'm sure that we're going to come across, and we're going to really get to dive into the term "turn the other cheek." Because Jesus wasn't necessarily saying be a pushover. It's way more complicated and nuanced than a lot of people think it is.
When do you say enough's enough? And you deal with a problem that has been weighing you down for so long. Both Vash and Wolfwood deal with that. So.
And it's also when do you stop running from your problems?
Yeah, when do you stop being Jonah and run from your problems?
All right, so I think that's going to be it for this time.
I think that's all we have to say without going over time on it.
So, as we thank you all so much for watching, and as we close out this
They're not watching us.
Listening... thank you for listening, and as we kind of close out, we've got a little piece of biblical goodness for you. Our random out of context Bible verse for the day.
Yep, it comes from Ruth, chapter 1, the very last part of it, verse 22. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth, the Moabites. What? Ruth the Moabites? Okay. Her daughter-in-law arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning.
Barley. Alright, I'm John Mark.
I'm Michelle.
And thanks for watching Faith-Filled Nerds. Bye!